Getting a little warm. I like how you have the Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central and Sunday or Saturday at 9 a.m. Central. Very nice.
My family. I want to go holiday with my family.
You're live, Michelle.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
I am. Oh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday. Welcome to Sober Mind. We're doing the format a little bit different. We're going to get started here, and then I'm going to roll the intros because I got a... oh, hey, good morning, Ed. Because I got a podcast I got to do better care and feeding for. So here we go. Going to the main view. Michelle, quiet. Do you want me to do the Hobbit intro?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. This podcast contains adult themes and language. The views expressed here are our own opinions and experiences. We are not medical professionals.
In this podcast, we discuss our opinions about mental health, sobriety, addiction, and our pursuit of happiness and peace. This is Sober Mind.
Man, do you hear that, Michelle? That is so pro. Am I right?
It sounds lovely.
Doesn't it though?
Okay, good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Sober Mind. Today we got our special guest, Michelle, my sister-in-law, Judy's sister.
Hi, Sissy.
You saw her on a previous episode. And of course, our dear, dear friend, Patrick. So let's do our round robin. Good morning, my love. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good today.
Yay.
So,
Yay.
yeah. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Very blessed.
Patrick,
Yes.
how are you doing?
Doing well as well. Well, all around.
It's a deep subject, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Today we are going to be talking about something that I've been very excited about. Patrick is our resident expert on this, and he's going to be is it fair to call you an expert on it, Patrick? Learned.
I'm not a professional.
Okay.
I watched a series of YouTube videos and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so take that information, what you will.
Nice. I love it.
We're gonna have a discussion on the drama triangle. I was about to say Cartman, but that's from South Park, so it's Capman. I think he's the original.
Now mash the two together. Carpman.
Carpman.
There we go. So we're going to get into that. I'm excited about that. But before that, Judy and I are going to have some legit mental health discussions. So
Yes. Do you want to go first?
do you want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that. All right. First, we're going to go ahead and get some ambient music going here. I love that. That's a good intro. That might have to be the competitor to.
I think it should.
Oh my! James is gonna be.
We'll put him on the end.
Okay.
The piano waltz makes me feel like I'm strolling through Hobbiton.
Okay. I think that's perfect. Ed, you should be able to hear some very light ambient background music. If you do, give me a thumbs up. Or, I mean, yes. There's a 6-second delay. Oh, nice. So you saw the thumbs up, Patrick?
Yes, it's beautiful.
I can ISO the feed, so you have it.
Okay, perfect, Ed. All right, so let me brace myself. This is a very difficult conversation. I'm going to say some stuff during this that is going to sound alarming, but I don't intend it to be. This is just the spirit of this channel and keeping our mental health conversations real. So, there's a lot to unpack here. I started getting really depressed about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And this isn't the first episode. This is part of my genetic makeup, part of my chemical imbalance of the serotonin and dopamine and GABA and all of that good stuff. And this is something that's been exacerbated since I became sober. If you've watched this show, you've heard about the struggles of that. So it continues to catch me off guard and surprise me sometimes. But the depression is something I want to really dig into because I just experienced an episode which my psychiatrist is officially describing now as a manic depressive episode. So I started to get depressed. And when I say depressed, I mean, it's the typical bullshit of I start to lose interest in my hobbies. I start to not have pleasure in a lot of the basic things anymore. And my motivation really starts to plummet for things. It's tough. So fast forward. So Patrick and I went on a run last weekend, and we also did our podcast with Emily last Saturday.
Yeah.
And this is important because when I talked to Michelle yesterday, she said, John, I could not tell that you were depressed. You did not seem like you were getting ready to go through something. And that comment is something that we often hear in the mental health community about people that are experiencing depressive episodes.
Well, nobody wants everybody to see that they're depressed.
Right. It takes a shit ton of energy for me to fake it. I got a job to do. I can't just not function. However, there's a huge veil that happens that we put on. I went for a run last Sunday with Patrick, and I told him this morning that I'll do a better job moving forward since we're really developing a nice friendship, that I'll be more candid with him. So I'm hypocritical about this because when Patrick's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I feel fantastic. I'm not. I'm fucking dying inside.
Liar.
Yeah. Not right now. I genuinely feel good now because I'll tell you what's happening. But so what I should have said is, Patrick, I'm having a depressive episode. Here's what I'm feeling. Just so we know, because Judi knew, Dad knew.
Well, we're around you all the time, so it's easy to pick up.
Thank you, I think.
Well, and your shorts indicated it as well. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people that knew.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to be open with those shorts too. Okay, so fast forward to Sunday. I had the deep level blues, and again, it's so tough to describe. It just you get no pleasure. It's very, I call it a dark, deep, aggressive sadness.
Yeah.
For no reason. Absolutely no reason. I have the best life that I've ever had in my life, which is the super frustrating thing about this mental illness, is because I've got not a single thing to be sad about, but there's no talking our way out of this either. There's no pull yourself together and you'll be all right.
Go run.
The chemical imbalance really takes hold. So I told Judi I was getting probably a higher level of depression. And so she knew, but we soldiered on. And that Sunday, last Sunday, we sat down and we started playing video games. It was beautiful weather here in the Midwest. We had the windows cracked, and there's a smell of fresh cut grass. And I took a deep sniff of that in hopes of, pulling myself out of the funk. That deep sniff of that beautiful fresh cut grass and the nice breeze coming through sent me completely over the edge into the deepest, darkest area that I've been in my adult life. I cannot remember being that sad.
Yeah, you were basically almost catatonic. You were just zombified.
Yeah, it was horrible. It kind of scared me. So I got through Sunday barely. I woke up Monday morning and I went to work, and I started to become basically my own lead weight. I couldn't do the simplest tasks. I was sitting right here at this desk, and I was just staring at documentation that I had to do. There's a check that I needed to deposit, and I couldn't fucking bring myself to deposit that. I couldn't pick up a pen and sign the back of that check. It's wild. So fast forward to Tuesday morning, and it got even worse. So I should have just took a sick day, because I was pretty much useless. I might go back and do that. Just put in a sick day, because I don't think I really did any work. I just got to be ethically honest with myself. So Tuesday night, we had dinner, and our routine is we watch Jeopardy every night with Dad. That's his thing and our thing. We love it. Once in a while, we actually beat Dad in Jeopardy, which is
very rare.
Wildly awesome. We ate dinner, Jeopardy came on, and what I told Michelle yesterday was, as soon as I started to have to think about anything, it became really cumbersome and exhausting.
Very
so
difficult.
I excused myself and I went to bed at like 5:45. I went and laid down in bed, and it continued to get really, really bad really quick. I tried to close my eyes and meditate out of it, and I just started to internally break down and sob. So this is where what I'm about to tell you, I don't want anyone to freak out, but it's important to have these discussions. Mm-hmm. I had what I would describe as a suicidal ideation. It was the first one I've had in many, many years. So, and what I mean by that is an ideation is different from a suicidal thought or a trajectory. I wasn't going down the path of like, and I'm just going to say it, if I kill myself, my family would be better without me, or then I won't have to suffer with this pain anymore. That's not what I thought, because for people that know me, I'm very passionate about being happy. I fucking love life. I love my friends. I love my family. I love my wife. Life is great. But so here's what I thought. As I was clenching my eyes and breaking down inside, I thought this is hard to describe. There was like a frayed thought process, and one part went to knock it off, and the other one went to, because there's a Glock in my nightstand. There's several firearms in here. There's another one in Judy's nightstand. By the way, don't break into our house in the Midwest. It's fucking, don't do a home invasion. It will not end for you well here. I've been trained for that shit. I'm mildly looking forward to it. Anyway, there's literally a gun in every room of this house. All right, back to the serious point. For a brief moment, I thought to myself, I maybe I should have Judi and me take all of the handguns and lock them in our safe and have her change the combination. And so that kind of quickly passed.
Thank God.
Yeah, and there was no. I wasn't moving forward with that thought process. I just want to be clear with that. It's just a thing that pops into your head. You think, man, I won't. I feel that maybe if I keep going down this road, maybe I could harm myself for some reason. It's quite disturbing because what I'm doing right now, people don't talk about. And so there's not this clarity. And I was kind of joking with Michelle yesterday. This is sort of the hypocrisy of, hey, it's National Suicide Awareness Month. What the fuck does that even mean? I mean, someone puts a poster up and there you go.
Yeah.
So we should talk about it. I told myself that if I woke up Wednesday morning and I was getting worse, I was going to have Judi take me to the hospital because there was something was breaking in my brain. And I woke up Wednesday morning. Here's what's pleasantly frustrating about this. I woke up Wednesday morning and I was 40% better. I woke up, I'm like, God, I feel good. So I had already scheduled on Monday. I knew I had to talk to my psychiatrist. So luckily they're super busy. I had an appointment with her on Thursday, and by Thursday morning, I was feeling like 60% better. Here's what a lot of folks in my position do. By the time they start to talk to their psychiatrist, they're feeling better. It's so tough to talk about this shit when you're in the throes of it because you just can't even get the damn energy to start talking about it sometimes. So I made a bunch of notes. And I told myself that I'm going to talk to my psychiatrist. I talk to her every month, have been for 19 months now. And I said, I'm going to tell her everything that happened, including the ideation. And we got into a really good, honest conversation, and I brought that up. And I was a little bit worried. I said, I'm not going to say her name just to protect I don't know if there's any weird implications, but I said, Doctor, I'm going to tell you something, but I feel very uncomfortable discussing this. See, because I feel uncomfortable discussing it, even with a psychiatrist. I said, you're not going to send an ambulance to my house and have them taking me away. See, because they think people are going to get locked up in an asylum for this stuff. So she's like, John, everything we talk about is confidential. So I told her what happened, and she said, what triggered about the grass? She kept honing in on that. What was it about the grass? She said, because that was a definite trigger. I said, I guess you're right. It was a trigger. I said, I don't know. Nothing. I love the springtime. Who the fuck doesn't like spring? I said, but during that time, I told Judi several times, I really wish it was dark and dismal outside and raining and cloudy. I can't stand this brightness, and it wasn't painful. It was mentally frustrating to be in a happy environment.
It's because you weren't happy,
I guess. So I don't know why that is. You would think a happy environment would make you happy, but it just didn't. So she really honed in on that, and she broke down a couple things for me, and she said that's 100% a post-traumatic episode. So there's triggers that happen. I've told Judi about this. I'll be running in the morning when I'm teetering on the brink of depression, and the air is clean, and I run by someone's house and they have the dryer going. I could tell because I smell this huge waft of that fabric softener. And it's like, oh man, life is so good. I'm so happy. I'm out here running, and I smelled that, and I wanted to transport me into like a good memory. But that smell brings in the good memory. The only way I can describe it is it gets to the top and then it pops into sadness to where I just want to stop and cry. And I'm like, I can't. So again, my doctor said there's something still from my childhood, not necessarily the military, she thinks, but still a childhood event to where subconsciously or way deep down inside, there's an association that is really conflicting with the good times. And now that my brain is free from alcohol, a lot of those emotions are going to continue to well up. So, I've had probably 3 depressive episodes that are pretty deep, in the last 12 months, but nothing like that. And she's been tracking all of that. So she says we can't go down that road anymore. So fortunately / unfortunately, she prescribed a very specific medication that is specifically designed to treat post-traumatic stress disorders in various forms. And what it does is, the other medication that we're on, I won't bore people. Stay with me, folks. Stay with me. The other medications that we're on, they're pretty light. Tons of people have them. Thank you, Ed. It's very nice. True. So it doesn't just prevent reuptake of serotonin and dopamine. This one goes deep. It attacks the amygdala and prevents you from reabsorbing GABA, which is, coincidentally, when you drink alcohol, the first thing that gets affected is your GABA receptors. What makes you feel relaxed. So my psychiatrist, with all of her copious notes, and this time she's determined that I've just got an excessive amount of electrical activity in my brain. And I was like, God, it took you 19 months to figure this shit out? I've known that for 50 years. I've been telling you. But so I took it last night, was the first night, because I'm not taking it at night again. I'm switching to days, because it did fix something overnight. I hope this continues to go down the path that it's going. But I woke up this morning, I talked to Judi. I'm like, man, I was very conscious of my sleep all night. That's the only way I can describe it. I was just like in my sleep world, and I woke up this morning, I'm like, man, it's like I took an ayahuasca trip or something. And I went for a run this morning, and the world seemed super bright and happy. And I'm feeling I'm gonna wrap this up in a sec because I think I'm rambling, but I wanted to get it out there that I feel good today. The problem in the last 19 months of sobriety for me is I don't know a baseline of where the hell I'm supposed to be. We get to a state, Patrick, and it's like I know alcoholics that I've met in AA, Michelle. They're like, I've been sober for 20 years. I'm just fucking miserable. I'm like, you got to go get some help, man. There's something else going on with you. So that's what I told my psychiatrist. He was like, she said, likely some of these medications I'll be on for the rest of my life. It's okay. I've gone through these whole things. So there's no side effects that I can't tolerate. And getting into a depressive state like that's not a good place to be. So I'm doing well. Thank you for everyone's support. I hope no one gets worried. And I know that's easier said than done, because when Judi looked at me on Tuesday night, she's like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, you're in a bad spot.
Then you say, well, don't worry about me. I'm like, well, okay. How am I supposed to do that?
Don't worry about me. Please hide all the guns.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway.
Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that, John. I know that's not easy. Those places are the darkness in those places is tough.
Yeah.
Like it's suffocating, but there's two points that I want to kind of approach here. One is the ideation phase that's normal. That's okay. Like the best way I can describe it is when I watch ideas unfold in my mind, it's like watching a fractal grow. It grows into these all articulate branches, and you were depressed. Your brain, was just like, all right, if I'm going down this path, what does this look like? What it becomes a concern if it moves past the ideation point, like you mentioned, right? Just because it appeared in your brain is not a bad thing. That's your brain doing what it needs to do, right? It's when we begin to dwell on it and, like you said, bend that arc to like a more motivational cause. But what sucks is like when it hits your brain, like it is so scary because your brain's just like doing like, I need to ideate on this. What does it look? And it starts going down the path if I have X, Y, and Z tools available. And it's just, and the first thing you want to do is like eject it from yourself, right? Like
Right.
there's this weird resistance to it, and your brain is just like, look, I'm in the middle of processing this. Leave me alone. I need to see how this plays out. And you're like, dude, that is so dark. What are you doing there? And so this begins this inner conflict to try to like, this is a bad thought. I need to get rid of it. But in reality, it is just, it's hard. It's one of those thoughts that you can't just say like, hey, brain, why don't you finish what you were going to say? Right? Let's see how dark this can get. That's scary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you just have to realize that it's just your brain doing its thing. And I'm so proud of you for, the tools that you have available, that you were utilizing everything and doing those. To you, it felt like you weren't doing much, but you were doing everything. You were hanging on, and you had all your tools lined up for when they were available. You talked to Judi, you talked to your psychologist, you were aware of your surroundings. I'm proud of you.
You took all the correct steps that you should have.
Thank you. That's actually nice to hear. I didn't attack it from that perspective.
And when those appear, like the best I can say is, just don't beat yourself up, because that guy's calculating the best way out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just let him, you just
yourself.
Be kind to yourself. Yeah. And then the other item I wanted to approach was, I tend to agree with your psychiatrist of the PTSD, that's very strong. We talked about foreboding joy. Springtime, fresh cut grass, new fresh air. I also struggle with it because it is very manic for me, because it's a sign of a new, right? Very aromas are very intoxicating. Like they're so overwhelming, and they're tied to the strongest senses. And I just remember this scene in like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I just see, when they drop the live action character into the rainbows and chirping birds and flowers growing, and he's just like, get rid of this. It's like, I mean, that's kind of what happened to you in a sense. It's like, it's so overwhelming to a point, drop it. This is rainbows and flowers and everything, and it should be happy. And it's like, I'm not okay with this. And then the first thing your brain wants to do is like, fuck all this. I'm tearing this all down. I'm not in this state of happy. And, I just, again, more gratitude for you sharing that, because it's okay not to be okay in that, and it's going to take some work to get to that, to uncover that. And I'm glad you're dealing with a professional to help dig through that, because that foreboding joy is so latent. When, you had obvious triggers of like apparent, like, this is good, the sun is good, the breeze is good, the fresh cut grass, like you're getting cues for positivity. And your brain goes, I see this all as positive, and immediately went the other direction. So there's something that has been trained or learned in you that immediately flipped that script. So I hope, through this and through your professional help, that we can help support you on that journey of working through that. And that's okay. I just wanted you to know you're doing exactly what you did to survive.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that reinforcement. The comforting thing that my psychiatrist does is, she really does. I said it before, but she hones in on the alcoholism. So it helps me when I understand why there's something a little bit broken too. She said it's not uncommon, just people, you didn't mean to suppress it, but the brain is very resilient yet super feeble. It does what it does to survive. And when you're drinking heavily for 20 years, it just shuts doors and opens other ones. And, in the past, during the springtime, during that event, we would have been just popping open Belgian ales and,
Yeah.
just getting hammered. And so that's releasing an artificial level of GABA and dopamine and all that good stuff. So it just, Patrick, I always think about when Judi and I find a behavior in ourselves, I always think about what you say, and that is, you built. I'm going to butcher it, but it took you 20 years to build these habits, and now that you're sober, it's not going to just fix itself in 18, 19 months. And Michelle, I think they teach that in Al-Anon too. You gotta. It's different for everybody. If you're a college kid that recognizes a drinking problem and you've been, getting drunk for 2 years at college, you're gonna bounce back if you become sober, probably a lot quicker than a 50-year-old that's been drinking super heavily for 20 years. It's gonna take some time to rebuild our psyche and our physical brain, So thank you, Patrick. I always remember that. Ed says, I would review your childhood springtime experience to see if you can remember what type of events occurred during that season. Moves, traumatic events.
I remember a story you shared about Easter.
Well, shit.
It's very
Yeah.
reinforcing, right? This is Easter weekend, right? Springtime anew. Easter's supposed to be the celebration of
Ding, ding,
rebirth.
ding, ding, ding. I think we found it.
and then that you said that was the one point where you you mentioned the change in yourself. Like that was like little John is now bye-bye. Now is survival John only.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, Patrick. I didn't even put two and two together.
Not to be a wet blanket, there's probably more, but that was a strong reinforcing
Event.
memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. There is more. So when I was in, when I did therapy, I think I did it too soon. I don't discourage anyone. If you need therapy, you should go do it. But where I was at with my sobriety, I think I was still navigating a bunch of stuff, and I was taking it seriously, but I wasn't taking it seriously. So I didn't get out of it what I needed. I think this time we really need to get into some unearthing of the childhood shit, and I need to also talk about the military stuff in depth more too, and just unpack it. I'm gonna be a handful for the therapist. I'm gonna get my insurance worth. Okay, thank you. Judi, do you want to share what?
I don't know if I could top that, but yeah, I'll try.
There's no topping. You don't want to top
Just
that.
kidding. So what I want to talk about is depression with menopause. There's a lot of women who are going through menopause and who are suffering from depression because of the hormone imbalance and all the crazy shit that goes on. But they don't realize that that's what's happening. They just think that it's just part of menopause and that's just it. They don't realize that they can actually go and get help for it. For those of you who don't know what menopause is like, I know Michelle knows what it's like. First you have the hot flashes, which are like being normal, and then all of a sudden somebody turning up the furnace to full blast, just like that. You're fine, and then you're covered in a sheen of sweat, and everything is roasting hot. Then you have the night sweats, which are the same thing as hot flashes, except for you're in bed and you're completely soaked from head to toe. There's been times when he has rolled over and he's got the blankets tucked up all the way up to his chin, and he's looked at me and the blankets are completely off, and I'm looking at the ceiling fan wondering if I can turn it up another notch because I'm just roasting hot. Then you have the mood swings, which are, I'm fine, I want to kill you, I'm fine, everything is good, I want to rip your guts out, I'm fine, everything is fine. Those are the kind of mood swings that sometimes happen. Not that drastic, but that's, kind of an idea of, the swing that happens. then what happened to me, which I wasn't quite ready for, but once I figured out what was going on, it made it a lot easier, but was the deep depression that I sunk into. A little bit different than what John experienced, but very similar, where you have no ambition, you don't want to do anything. I basically was to the point to where I had to force myself to get out of bed. I had to force myself to eat. I had to force myself to do chores. I had to force myself to do. It was basically a battle of wills all day long. And it was my will against the depression will. And it was a constant battle until finally it started to take over, and I didn't want to get out of bed at all. I didn't want to leave the room. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to have to do anything. And I would just sit on the edge of my bed and just cry and just sob. And at that point I realized, okay, excuse me. Okay, I need to do something about this, because it was something I couldn't handle. And I think I've got a pretty strong will. I can usually handle quite a bit and take on quite a bit, fight through quite a bit. But at this point, it was just something I couldn't fight through anymore. And so by that time, I had asked John for the number to his psychiatrist, and got an appointment and talked to her, and she said, "Oh yeah, this is normal." I went, "Okay, great. Well, at least I know now that it's not, something completely crazy. I'm not losing my mind." But she said it's normal to go through these things, especially through menopause. And there is, certain medications, which she did prescribe for me, that deal specifically with the chemical imbalance, the hormonal imbalance, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the insomnia, which is fun. And
very low dose of Cymbalta. It's an
yes.
SNRI. It's similar to Effexor, but it has a different targeting mechanism.
Yes. And it helps. It helps tremendously.
It helped her the first day.
Yeah. I mean, I felt heavy during the depression. I felt like there was a weight pressing down on me. And then when I started dealing with the taking the medication, within a day, I felt light. I felt like half of the weight that I'd been carrying around on my shoulders had finally fallen off. It's not completely gone because I'm still working with the medication, but it's gone off of my shoulders for the most part. And I can move better. I can go through life better, and I can see the bright sky and the sun and feel the joy of it, instead of that constant depress, that constant weight, that constant heaviness, and the constant not interested in anything. Everything out in the external world is completely uninteresting. I don't have any drive, any ambition to go and do gardening, to go and do the things that I normally like to do. I didn't have any of it. It was completely gone. And now it's finally starting to come back, thank goodness, because I don't know how long I could actually deal with that. But that's something that I think a lot of women who are going through menopause really need to, if they're having these issues, please reach out and get help, because there are things out there that can help with all of the symptoms, even the hot flashes and the night sweats. There's stuff out there that can help you, and I guarantee if you take action and ask for it, it's there, and it will make your life so much easier.
Yeah. See, again, something that's taboo. Judi had a hysterectomy at a young-ish age, 2017. So mid-40s.
45.
Yeah. And that's what starts the menopause super early. They even tell you, like, your menopause is going to kick in. Enjoy.
Yeah. Well, they said, well, we'll leave your ovaries so it won't be quite as fast. And my ovaries have now waved the white flag. They are done. So now I am going through full bore ahead, full steam ahead.
You know what's interesting? So thank you for sharing that, babe. And I was on the outside. I don't know if our brains by design are like this. Patrick and Michelle, you might find this interesting, is that while she was going through all of that, just I think subconsciously, so I had started my depression, but it was not getting up to an unmanageable level. As soon as she got better, my brain's like, all right, it's your turn, bud. And like kicked it into over. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I wasn't trying to do that, but holy shit, I'm glad we weren't both in that same boat together.
No, I think we had a day reprieve.
Yeah.
Not even a day. I think we had 12 hours of reprieve by the time I started to come out of mine and you started to go right into yours heavy.
Yeah.
It may be similar to women who live together, work together. They call it herding.
Oh yeah.
Where you all seem to have your menstrual cycle at the same time. It could be something similar to that. The fact that you guys you had a day reprieve, one was okay and then not okay, and so that's my thought. For me, I haven't had any. I won't say I haven't had any. I haven't had the intensity of menopause that my sister has had.
Lucky.
The hot flashes, another good explanation is it feels like you're burning up from the inside out. It's not something from the outside. It
No.
starts inside, and you just feel like it's just this internal temperature is it's really gnarly. It's like
It's even worse when it happens like 30 times a day.
Yes.
And mentally by the evening I am mentally like I cannot deal with this anymore. I'm going to strangle somebody.
Yeah.
It's been a lot noticeably better with the medication.
Yes, I'm from 30 times a day I'm down to about 5 times a day, which is super awesome.
Not as intense, right?
No, not as intense.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, y'all ladies have to go through that. All us men suffer is kind of Patrick, you'll look forward to this. Once you get about 50, you go through a sort of a hormonal change that makes you turn into what I would call a daisy. And that is, we start to acquire the testosterone level of a 70-year-old woman. You wake up one day, you're like, shit, I'm no longer a man. Where the hell did all my muscle go? But Michelle, I want to make a comment that's not going to resonate well, Judi. So brace yourselves. Just keeping it real. Judi was trying to explain this stuff to your mom, all the stuff we were going through, and sort of some of the feedback that Judi got was that we need to seek more spirituality in our life and we should chant.
Yep.
And I feel hurt sometimes when people undermine the severity. It'd be like, it's like, I'm not exaggerating, but like you get your leg cut off and someone goes, just put some peroxide on it, you'll be okay. It's like,
right.
Well, this is a serious situation. I'm looking for a bit more support.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all.
No, I think at that time, being raised in that religion,
Buddhism.
Buddhism,
It's fantastic, but it's just not for everybody.
The philosophy is great. But I think for every child, not every child, but for a lot of children, when they're raised with one religion, at some point they start to rebel against that religion because they were forced to do that religion. So now when it's brought up, the first thing I think of is rebellion. I immediately put my guard up and I'm done. I don't want to listen to this anymore. I have no interest in it. Please stop shoving this down my throat. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Absolutely.
It's not that it's not a good religion. It's not that the philosophy isn't fantastic, which it is, but it's just been so ingrained in me as a child that I was forced to do it for so long that I have no desire to even engage. So I think that's when that came up in the conversation, I immediately went, I'm done.
And when we're struggling with something that's a really big deal, maybe I'm just thinking out loud. I will always try to be conscious and maybe not. I won't tell people like just go pray it away.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe if you don't understand the chemical imbalance. I know I've said that several times, but you can't talk your way out of it. That's just not how it works. Your body's in this weird anyway. All right. I love you.
I love you too.
Michelle, thank you for go ahead.
So I brought this up with my husband because he's been with my family for about 35 years now. And I told him what had transpired. And he said it's similar to a holy roller. She is so grateful, ingrained in her philosophy in Buddhism, that she wants to proclaim it to the world, and she thinks that everyone should be doing it. And so the analogy of comparing it to a holy roller really helped me to understand better what she was doing.
Yeah.
She did that.
And I understand. I'm sorry. I understand that, she is, that's her belief. That's
Right.
her. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. She has her spirituality, which is fantastic.
Right.
It's just when it starts to be forced down my throat that I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Nope.
And I agree 100%.
So it's something we have to all be cognizant of. Oddly enough, this morning I was ending my run, so I had a nice load of endorphins, and I was thinking, man, I'm so happy that I'm starting to feel good. And there was this brief moment of, I should tell them. It's just a fleeting thing, like people should get on the three medications that I'm on. It's like, no, that's not. That's not for everybody. That's not everyone's journey, and we're all different. So don't go telling everyone what they should do. Just give some support of sympathy and empathy, and say, "Hey, I understand. I hope." And
acknowledgement. I mean, acknowledge, what people. If somebody's talking to you, acknowledge what they're saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
your dad does good with that. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
It's similar. It's similar to AA or Al-Anon. When I first joined, and I still, want to shout it to the rooftops that this is really good and everybody should do this and all of that. However, in AA, it stands for Alcoholics Anonymous, which means you're anonymous in the 12-step program. So it's not something that I can shout from the rooftops how good it is, because it breaks the anonymity of the 12-step program, which I just blew it now, but
Well, I think there's a misattributed quote out there is, I really like Christ, not so much as followers type of thing. I have a lot of the isms I love, not so much the followers. What I'm trying to say is at a certain point, things can become corrupted or misconstrued or held wrongly.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, like you're saying, Michelle, you want to shout it from the rooftops because it worked for you, right?
Mhm.
You should do this. Here comes the shoulds. You should and expectations.
Mhm.
The reality is this path worked for you and you found your modality. Again, we don't own the actions of others. The best we can do is lead, model the way. You were allowed to find space to find what your voice and what your strengths were. And you know what? My path is not going to be the same as yours or Judy's or John's. And I can't say, you know what? You need to do sobriety in this order. This is how it needs to be done. You need to do spirituality in this order. Oh, it didn't work for you. Oh, yeah.
Well, you didn't do it well enough.
You didn't
Or
do
you
it
did
well
it wrong.
enough.
Yeah.
You did it wrong. And we can talk about how this fits into a different model of our next conversation. But the point is with that, everybody deserves to find their own world map in their own way, and it's not going to look the same. And again, this is why if a certain virtue benefits you and you want to share that, you can't download that information into somebody else's brain. You can't forcefully say, follow this script and it will work. You have to show them by executing it, by modeling the behavior, and they will see what is beneficial. And if it truly is, then they will adopt that behavior. If all the teachings of Christ and Buddha and other leaders like that are of benefit, then let's not worry about calling ourselves a follower of X, Y, and Z. Let's model the behavior that was upheld, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Amen.
the purity
Amen,
tests
Patrick.
the purity tests don't matter at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah. Here.
Okay. Should we go ahead and get into the drama triangle? I've been excited about this. Sorry, that was supposed
An
to.
hour later, let's get into it.
Warm up.
Yeah. We can just keep going. People can watch or they can't. Oh, so Michelle, I
Yes?
gotta tell you, I posted. Did you see the short of Nessa that I posted yesterday?
No.
Puka.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, I work very hard on the mental health stuff for this channel, and we're growing a nice community. 222 subs, 75,000 views we've got so far. It's a lot.
Woohoo.
But the community we're building is very loyal, and it's a niche area we have. So this isn't for everybody to watch and listen to. But yesterday when I got back from my run, I posted a very serious short about my mental health. And then inside, I've always been wanting to do this. When I take off my running gear down in the basement. She comes and licks all my sweat off. Then she runs upstairs. This is our routine by the front door. And then I go into the garage and I grab her can of Science Diet for breakfast. But she won't move from the landing until she sees the can. Then she'll run upstairs like, don't waste my time. I'm not going to run unless I see some food. So I took a short of that yesterday and I was just like, I'll just upload this. Why not? 10,000 views.
Oh my God.
It was cute. I mean, the short was very cute.
So many comments, and we gained like 20 something subscribers from that. And I even told Judi, I said, this is I've watched on the YouTube creators channel that this is something that will backfire. Sure as shit, I woke up this morning, we had 220 subscribers, so 3 people unsubscribed, because remember, Patrick, I was telling you about the algorithm. So Michelle, if someone subscribes, what's going to happen on their feed, and it happened yesterday, is they log on to YouTube, all of a sudden this alcoholic that's talking about mental health is popping up, and they're like, what the fuck is this?
Where's the dog video?
Where's the dog?
I'm here. Yeah, you got me with the clickbait. I'm here for the fur babies.
You do know that everybody loves dog videos.
I know.
yeah.
I mean, that's like the thing is dog videos.
I'll make my mental health updates while I'm holding Nessa or something.
I told him he's going to have to make more videos of her and post them.
Yes.
That's it now. He's done. He's wrote his ticket. He's got to keep making videos.
10,000 views in like 6 hours. It was insane. Sorry for tricking everyone. I'm leaving that video there anyway. I'm sorry. Let's go, Patrick. Drama triangle. Michelle, dear, Patrick explicitly requested that you be on the show to talk about this because of just some things that you were talking about when you were on the show. And
Well, thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
because you expressed a lot of thoughts about codependency and all that good stuff. So did you have a
Yes.
chance to watch the videos I sent you?
I did.
Patrick, I sent her the links to the 2 that you sent. There's hundreds of them out there for anyone that's watching the drama triangle stuff. Very interesting. Not super complex to follow, but man, it nails down a lot of aha stuff. So
Yes, and I can see myself in all 3 of the points of the triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
At one point or another.
well, that's a very important part of the triangle. So let's kind of, since we're already geared up talking about it, let's do a quick summary for the viewers. And we're talking about the Cartman drama triangle, and like John said, there's tons of videos out there, really short and easily digestible. But this is a behavior model introduced in around like 1968. So this may be for everybody. This may resonate with you, but may not. But it attempts to describe some of the transactional behaviors that we have when we have very self-centered or ego-driven behavior that we often find ourselves in. And I focus on the transactional and drama-laden. Like some of the. I can sympathize with the drama triangle because the roles when I was in it, it felt very dramatic, to say the least. So how it works is there are roles that we play with other people and with ourselves, and the way they interact with each other kind of depend on each other to stay in that state. The roles are, if you look at a triangle like inverted, so if I could do it like that, you have 2 up roles. One of them is the persecutor. This person uses a lot of language like, I know I am right. This is how it needs to be done. They are very controlling and, can be very obtuse is a good way to put it. I'm going to go to the down behavior next because that is a commonality, and I'll get into that more. But the down role is called the victim, and this isn't like a typical like a victim of a crime. This is a person that puts himself in that role of the language. The language for the victim is always like, I can't catch a break. This is always happening to me. They're very centered. Like they feel very disempowered all the time of forces outside of their own control. And so that's a lot of commonality of the language for them is like, I can't do this. All these roles speak in absolutes a lot. Like, I can never catch a break. This always happens to me, right? That's a good voice of the victim. And then the other up role is called the rescuer. This person is, think of the people pleaser, the martyr type. Common language around this is like, here, let me help you.
Yeah.
Without even acknowledging the person needs help. They assume they take on other people's problems as their own, and they assume that the person cannot find success without their help or their intervention or direct cause.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an avoidance to deal with their own issues at times.
Most definitely.
Right? So they will take on other people's issues to avoid their own. Now, what's interesting why we put this in a triangle is because these interact with each other, right? The rescuer needs the victim. The rescuer seeks out the victim, the person that's always like, woe is me. And then the rescuer comes in and is like, here, let me help you, or I'm going to save the day. And in fact, that is very toxic, and because that's an enabling thing. They're not giving them the tools to elevate themselves to solve their own problems, right? They are keeping them down by solving the problems for them. And then ergo, the rescuer feels validated by saving the day. Hey, I did it. That person couldn't do it, and help themselves. So I am a better person. Same with the persecutor and the victim. The persecutor is, like, I am always right, it's my way or the highway type of thing. They seek basically somebody they could beat up or look down on or easily strong arm, but they also need the rescuer in some instances, where the rescuer is the role that keeps the status quo.
Yeah.
Right.
Patrick, sorry, I'm going to keep your train of thought, but I got questions.
Yeah, jump in.
Do we, as humans, do some of us switch in between these?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So this is a very important, these roles are subjective.
And dynamic.
Dynamic, yes, you switch between them. And that's what makes it important about these. So you end up, even if you're dancing with somebody in this circle, you just still end up going around the same circle. And a good, before I get to my example, so not only can you switch between roles, but we have roles that we identify with, that we enter into this circle with, a quote unquote doorway role. And this is often one that we identify with on a regular basis. So for me is the rescuer, right? I will often enter in these toxic traits as the rescuer role, but I can shift to the others depending on how the conversation goes in order to keep me in those roles and in that codependent relationship. Yeah. And let me do a small example. Like I remember one of the first time I went through this exercise, one was, I had a work task come up and my boss came to me and said, this piece of equipment went down. Or actually she came to the team. This is me already phrasing it differently. She came to the team and it's like, this major piece of equipment is down. It has to be fixed tonight. You have to stay. This needs to be fixed after hours and then up for a meeting tomorrow. And lo and behold, I throw on my rescuer cape and I'm like, I'm the only one that can do it. I'm the only one with the skill set. It's upon me to solve this problem, right? I am the only person that can provide value to this, ergo I'm validated, let alone the fact that I had like previous engagement with my family or anybody else, I easily pushed all that aside and was like, I will do it, and in that instance, you feel validated. But the problem is when the time came to do it, I'm in the rack installing the gear after hours, and here comes the victim is like, I'm always stuck in these situations, they will never see me for the work that I'm actually doing. This is so frustrating. And then like my family, my wife calls in and is like, why aren't you at dinner? I'm like, don't you see? I am trying to save the day here. Right. I'm being a bad dad. Thanks. I appreciate the help. Way to just pile it on, like woe is me. And so it's the drama triangle. You just bring the drama in. It's like, don't you see? I am trying to work for us to put food on the dinner table and like clothes on your back. Don't you see?
Now, at that point, did you move from the victim to the persecutor?
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. Anybody who challenges these roles, the persecutor, like if she would have been, is this something that you had to do tonight? Or did you tell your manager that you had previous plans of, like that you were previously engaged on something? And then the response from me is like, well, you don't understand. I am right. I am the only one that can solve this. Right? Like this is my way. My solution is the only valid course of action in this conversation.
Yeah.
You're not seeing me.
So I may have to take a deeper dive. Well, we are now. I didn't put all of those together. I really honed in on each one of those being a non-dynamic trait. So I was like, that doesn't really. Now that you're saying that, I realize I jump between all three of those sons of bitches all the time.
And it's critical that you do so.
Michelle, where the hell did you go? We can't hear you.
You have her muted on the Streamlabs. Or she might be muted.
She's muted. Anyway.
There we go.
There you
Hey, there we go.
Okay, I'm trying to concentrate on this, but I have other shit that I have to get done before we leave for the beach this morning.
Oh, got it.
And Guy's on his way home from golf, and if I don't have coffee, he gets a little
Bent.
bit. I mean, I don't want to say he gets mad or he whatever, but he enjoys it when he comes home and there's coffee.
So you want to be the rescuer?
Yes.
Way to tie it in, babe.
Yeah.
That has been my role probably my whole life.
Yeah.
Is it your responsibility to make sure he's all right? It's a very nice gesture, and I'm not trying to like delve into this even further. And I think it's
it's not my responsibility. However, being the role of the rescuer, I take that on.
I do the same thing with him when he goes to Omaha, and I make sure that because he'll text me, I'm 15 minutes out, so I make sure there's a hot pot of coffee. But I do it because I know it makes him happy, which makes me happy.
Yes.
Yep.
Making my spouse happy is very, very important to me.
Because I love him and I want him to
right.
be happy.
And their jobs are extremely stressful. Commuting is extremely stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do something that's going to make home life a little bit better, then because I am a homemaker, domestic goddess, I find that it's part of my job.
Ooh.
So if that makes me a rescuer and part of that triangle, well then yes, that's true.
So let's take a more a shadow approach of this. Let's see like a more the further end of this triangle you go, the more narcissistic and self-oriented behaviors emerge, the more toxic the outcomes. Mm-hmm. So a toxic reinforcing reaction to that is like, say you didn't have the coffee ready. You, as an enabler, you're like, I have to have the coffee there, or else it's just not going to go well. And you take it upon yourself and you say like, you push your needs to the side in an extreme sense. And you're like, all right, I will sacrifice myself to make this coffee happen. And maybe you didn't. And then a more toxic response, for somebody that's a persecutor would be like, you did not get that. You did not have my coffee. Don't you love me? This is you not providing for me, right? And then all of a sudden the rescue doesn't feel validated, right? They have not achieved their goal of rescuing. The persecutor is validating their role as like, this is like, it's everybody else but me. Like I'm unhappy because you failed, right? So
all your fault.
So yeah, you can see where the persecutor and the victim kind of slide back. The persecutor is like, I need my coffee to function, and if it doesn't happen, it's your fault. Now they're sliding into the victim, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because you didn't execute that. It's all your fault. I can't do anything about it. These are roles that are comforting to us because, like I said before, in behavior, the brain wants to get to known behavior. Victim roles are very interesting to me because by absolving responsibility for action, I'm not saying absolving accountability for actions, not necessarily responsibility, but absolving accountability, the person gets to eject any guilt and shame that they may feel like that they have to deal with. And what I'm trying to get to is here, it's easier when the person says, I'm the victim, this is out of my control. The brain goes, hey, that was somebody else's problem. That you're sad. You don't have to worry about that now. And it's an easy explanation. The brain is trying to make sense of complex actions instead of saying like, well, you just didn't take the time to do X, Y, and Z. You didn't set up space for yourself. You didn't articulate your needs, wants, and desires. This is a failure on your part, right? That would be being held accountable for certain actions. The brain goes, oh, it's somebody else's fault. This is not in videos, John, Judi, and Michelle, but the further down you go, I said more narcissistic behaviors, and we can see trends. So deep, dark trends of victim behavior are alignment to conspiracy theories, because these are short-circuiting, overarching complex items into easily explainable, blamable, unaccountable behaviors, right? Deep, dark, if you dive further in the persecutor, is more narcissistic tendencies such as gaslighting, just completely, it's my way, and like pretending nothing else happened, right? Manipulation tactics to do so. Rescuers, deeper into that, will do manipulation tactics such as love bombing.
What's
right?
that?
I don't know if you... Oh, this is a good one for a good narcissist tendency. Love bombing is a manipulation tactic of like, I love you, you're great, pumping the tires, just using that description as a transactional support, knowing that you are pumping that person up just so you can get something in return. So everything that happens along this triangle is transactional in nature, meaning rescuer is, I need you to fail as a victim. This transaction needs to happen this way so I feel valid.
Right.
That is codependency at the core of every single interaction along this triangle. And like I said, the more toxic and more the deeper you spiral into it, eventually you end up as a isolated and as a victim in a lot of tendencies. And you can see these behaviors happen at societal levels, scale levels, with alignments of certain groups that identify with certain things. And then also, if you drill it down to on the individual scale, you can see it happen as well. And it's a continuous spiral. And if you are an outside entity that begins to challenge this, you are viewed as a persecutor, So they immediately, you can't come to a victim and say like, hey, why are you beating yourself up? There's no need to do this. You don't understand me. This, you don't see what's going on. They will retreat further into their roles if you begin to challenge it. So the question is, well, how the F do we get out of this dumb drama triangle, right? Without even becoming more of a drama queen. And like our behavior, how we, the behavior episode, we talked about superimposing a different structure to help elevate out of our behaviors. And the triangle, we will invert. So the opposite of a rescuer is not a victim. The opposite of a rescuer is a coach. Instead of somebody that puts on the cape and says, I'm going to save the day, this is the person that becomes a fisher of men. This is a person that learns how to hold space. And they ask questions of like, how would you see yourself getting out of this situation? What tools do you need? How can I support you in this, right? They begin to cultivate, they see the person of where they're at, if they're struggling or the situation, and learn to empower the person. So the inverted triangle that we need to is one of empowerment and self-validation. If lack of self-validation is what really drove the drama triangle, then the opposite, learning how to validate within and is going to be the core of it. So the coach,
That's for the rescuer, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coach, holds space and enables the people to solve the problems for themselves. Right. So the victim's strength, and it is a strength. The victim is a mind ninja on being able to paint every situation about them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how it's not about them, but it really is about them. What I'm trying to say is like
They're suffering.
They're suffering, and everything else is somebody else's fault, but they're suffering.
Right. That's what makes them the martyr.
Mm-hmm.
The martyr is actually the rescuer.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see that.
Put me up on the cross. Without me, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
So the victim, though, is very creative. And this is where you see the mental gymnastics of like everything is a slight against them. The opposite of the victim is the creator. This is somebody that can think of like a million different ways to accept accountability for the actions. I'm not saying this your state of being is necessarily your fault, but your path out, you can be accountable for the actions that happen afterwards, right? So you know, the victim expends all their energy in their transaction trying to ascribe everything why they are in the role that I'm suffering because of XYZ. I can't get out of this, blah, 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 blah. Instead of, so like we look to that creativity, and it's like a muscle. You know, you have to practice this. You know, we look to enrich their ability to come up with different solutions, description, different angles of approach and everything like that. But again, we look for the accountability afterwards. We're not really interested on, you know, who is responsible beforehand. So any questions so far?
No. Comment. Michelle, are you still good for time?
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Yes. You can. I know we all got stuff to do, so if you need to just drop off. I think that, so this is very helpful, Patrick. This is something now that we're talking about it, I think I can learn to be more conscious of, because I find myself just jumping in so now I get it. There's the 3, and then there's an opposite or a complementary to each one of those. So I jump around all 6 of them all the time. Now that I'm seeing that, maybe I can figure out how to compartmentalize each one of those and make them a little bit better. I realize I love bomb you when I want to buy something. I do. I come in there, I'm like, babe, here, listen how this can benefit you somehow. I've spent a lot of time on figuring out how to sell it to benefit Judi somehow. I'm sorry.
Oh, trust me, I know every time you do, so it's fine.
I'm sure.
I think through most of my teenage years, I was the victim, or I was in that victim mentality. I definitely know that through most of my teenage years, my teenage angst, I was in the victim role for most of that. Yeah, I can see how that.
Yeah, and I was your rescuer.
Yeah, you were when we were little. You were definitely in the rescue role.
A victim in an early relationship is interesting. I've seen this example used many times to help explain the drama triangle. Like, so a victim in an early relationship would be somebody like somebody insecure about the relationship and being like, that person's always cheating, you know, or like, I think they're cheating. I'm not deserving of this relationship, or, you know, like I always deal with the, you know, this person's a piece of shit, but I don't deserve any better.
Why doesn't he ever tell me he loves me?
Why doesn't he tell me he loves me? And then you go with behaviors of like being paranoid and like either having to check their phone or like, you know, like manipulative behaviors as a victim. And, you know, if that person's going out and be like, I know they're going out cheating, and you would love bomb them to be like, oh, don't you just want to like stay in? You don't love me. Just stay in and watch Netflix with me. And instead of just saying outright, being able to validate yourself within, just to say like, hey, I feel insecure right now. I need to have some comfort or some validation from you, like to help work through this. We don't have those tools to be empowered to do so in the victim roles. So if the victim doesn't have those tools and they feel more attacked, they double down on those toxic behaviors. The more insecure you feel, you're not going to go like, "Hey, I feel insecure. Can you please stay home with me tonight?" You're gonna be like, the behaviors can get very bad in a codependent behavior.
Yeah.
You can get violent.
Super bad.
Yep.
So the victim is very distrustful.
Insecure, I would think.
They almost all are. Insecure is very one. Fear drives a lot of these. They all have an inability to validate themselves. They have different masks to cover that. The victim uses outside forces for their inability to look inward, meaning it's everybody else's fault. Right? So they're very insecure of looking inward. The rescuer doesn't want to look inward, so they deal with everybody else's shit.
Yes.
And then the persecutor knows what's inward, and they don't want to look at it, so they blame everybody else.
Right. So
they try to like really bend reality around them to fit how they should see it fit.
To fit the mold that they think it should be in.
Yep.
Ed says you're the master manipulator, John.
Far from it. She sees right through it.
But here's the thing. It's not like you're like in the drama triangle or not. We all have codependent behaviors, and there are, we have relationships that are very transactional by nature. And this is just kind of a structure of our society. It's whether or not like we lean into the, if we hold them wrongly, right? And if we don't have the tools to act on that inverted pyramid, how to develop a healthy version of some of these relationships and make them less transactional. So lastly, for the persecutor, their inversion or their complement is the challenger. And the challenger is something hard to understand, but this person sets boundaries and executes them in a firm but fair method, right? The persecutor was hard for me to understand at first, because setting boundaries is a healthy thing, and it's very hard. Language for this person now is like, if you hold up your end of the deal, then I can do X, Y, and Z, and leaving it at that and not taking responsibility for failure on the other person's end or anything like that, or just knowing that they can only affect their actions. This is where I don't own the actions of others. The best I can do is lead and model the way, right? That's where the voice of the challenger comes from. So again, we're looking to make healthy versions of some of these relationships that are not so codependent on the transaction that forms. Validate within first, and then the healthy relationship can appear.
Nice. I think organically I still have a lot to learn about this, but when I was younger, I think I had zero control of all of those behaviors, especially the insecurities and the victim portion when I was in relationships.
I think that when you're younger, if you were not given those tools to help with the victim and the persecutor and the rescuer, and help you switch them over to the beneficial role instead of the negative narcissistic role, then you're just going to do work with what you have. I mean, I didn't learn these, things until I was way, way older. When I was a teenager, I was right in the middle of that triangle because that's what I was taught.
Yeah, it's not like we can elevate to the inverted triangle and just say like, hey, we're done with the icky stuff. That is just the nature of being. That's what devolves. If you don't have the tools to do so, those the ego is going to be very self-centered. I'm looking out for me, I, and every interaction is going to be transactional. And that, what I'm trying to say is, like, that's okay. Meaning that's how the ego operates. That's how it is driven. That is how we are wired. Like, you know, there's aspects of survival in that drama triangle, but what we can do is bring awareness to it so it's not so toxic and draining. If you look at actions within the drama triangle, when you're in that state of mind, do you remember like some of the deepest parts? Like, it's emotionally draining. Like it zaps your energy. Like it is, and you have so much tied to the identity of the role that you enter. Like for me, I talk about this a lot. Like I hung my validation so much on others that I would destroy myself if I couldn't save the day. Right. Or, you know, I'm such a piece of shit because I couldn't do this. I won't be loved or whatever. Whenever you tie your identity to that for so strongly, you have a high level of attachment. And when stuff doesn't align, it is so, again, transactional. It is so transactional. It actually transacts your energy. Like you are just being zapped. So every time spiral down.
So there's some people that I know that when I get into a conversation or when I see them, I haven't seen them for a while, and I get in, you know, I see them, and after I'm done with that interaction, I leave and I'm completely exhausted.
Yes.
They have zapped every ounce of
energy vampires
energy that I've had. Is that because they're so entrenched in that triangle that's what's happening?
That can be definitely part of it. I mean, you know, I don't want to oversimplify, but you know, those that in the victim mentality, you know, we all know these people like deep in that, and it's like, you know, I hate to, you know, it is tough because they wear the victim so hard that it's like, I can't. The world's out to get me. Everything sucks. And like, it is so polarizing because you feel like the only way to engage with them is to put it on the rescuer role, right? Where you're like, all right, you're saying everything sucks so bad, then let me do this one thing for you, right? It's that's how these behaviors happen. They're so insidious. So you have to be a challenger and kind of set your boundaries and say, like, you know, look, you know, I can give you a hand, and then you put on your coach hat and say, like, you know, if you feel like the situation would get better, what would that look like to you? Right? You begin to ask questions to see what they can cultivate, right? And where you want to pull the creator out of them. But that takes like, you're like, all of a sudden now, instead of just saying like, instead of being like, I wanted to talk about our surface level stuff and getting about this task done or whatever. Now you're like, all right, let's pump the brakes.
Hold on, Patrick.
Yeah, you got somebody rooting.
Is Guy home?
Yes.
Michelle, I'm going to send you a microphone and some headphones. Tell Guy we said hi. All right, continue on, Patrick.
That's about all I had is, you know, we have to, the victim is a very natural energy vampire, meaning they can't validate themselves. You know, we know these conversations, like it's like fishing for compliments and people like being like, I hate myself. I can't do this. I'm so dumb. I'm such a stupid person.
Yeah.
And they're like literally teeing the conversation up for you. Like, are you waiting for me to respond to saying you're not a dumb person or whatever? I'm like, what would that look? The response to that needs to be like, what would that look like if you could validate yourself? Do you think you're a dumb person? Yeah, of course I can't do this. You know, and you have to provide space. Some people are ready for this type of coaching or interact. I don't want to call it coaching because nobody needs to feel encumbered to like rescue a victim. Even if you're coming from a healthy place, this is where the challenger is so important. You got to set the boundaries.
I was going to ask you, if you're in a relationship that is just, you cannot, there's no getting them out of that situation. Can you just leave?
Babe, I'm sorry.
I mean, would yourself let you leave?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I would really want to help.
I
That
love
being
him,
said-
but he wouldn't live without me. I love him, but this is what it is now. Those are, yeah.
Michelle could have a story on that for many, many hours.
Oh my God. Yes, I could.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's
And for me, being in a 12-step program has really taught me how to invert that triangle, because it was the upside down triangle for
Most of our life.
yeah. And it's helped me make it a regular triangle. It's still, this is going to sound cliche and all of that, but it's still one day at a time. It's still a conscious effort to be the upright triangle. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. The more I find, the more that I do it, the better I am getting to be at it. Setting boundaries with particular people in my life was extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I didn't do it, I was going to continue to be the victim, and I didn't want to be the victim anymore. And my self-worth, my self-esteem was really caught up in the inverted triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got a better self-worth and a better self-esteem, which again, I got to work on all the time. It's easier to do the upside triangle.
Yeah, so that's I struggled. You talk about the work to be done on a daily basis. Vigilance is our gift, meaning I can be the victim and say, like, the work will never be done. The work will never be done. There's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get to invert that. And you're like, hey, what are you smoking, Pat? I get to show up every day and do the work. I get to show up and better myself. That is awesome. Instead of saying like everything is wrong, I'm not perfect, or I can't get there. It's like, look, let's go back to our other episode. Accept the fact that it won't. Accept the fact that it will never be perfect. And now you have a gift of like, I get to show up every day and learn something new, or bring something to the table, or add to that pile.
Yes.
And you know what? Maybe I won't today. Trying to say like accepting the ebbs and the flows, but knowing that you are present and you're doing as much as you can at that moment is such a wonderful gift. Sometimes it's just holding on, but knowing that you're abstaining from those interactions. Let's go back to John, the deep blues, as you would call them, right? You had healthy tools that you executed at your disposal despite your state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
John, that is victory all over the board, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a whole bag of Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, what I'm trying to say, the victim in that role would be like, everything's dark, so everything sucks, and I can't do anything right, and this is all bad. And so they would reach to maladaptive tools. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an easy trigger to drink. That's an easy trigger to like continue to hate on yourself. That's an easy trigger to go more. So again, you turning yourself from a victim to a creator. You talked with Judi about ways to deal with this. A victim would just be like, I am trapped in this. This is me. This is me now. I'm just going to go buy all the black clothes and black everything. This is my soul. Don't you see this? But you were able to create space to allow yourself to, to talk through that. And we're all learning. None of us are going to have that perfect inverted pyramid, and none
Right.
of us. So we're going to like move back and forth, and that's
Well, and
okay.
it's about choice too.
Yeah.
You can choose to wallow in that victim mentality. You can, and woe is me, everything sucks, blah blah blah, and be that. But you also have a choice to change that dialogue with the committee in your head to be like, well, hey, but I can change this behavior. I don't have to stay in this victim role. I don't have to stay in this rescuer role. It's a choice. It's a choice that you're making to change that conversation in your brain. That sometimes it's a physical change, a physical choice to get up and walk away, or to, whatever it is. It's a choice that you're making. It's a conscious choice that you're making.
It's hard because you also need the awareness. And what I'm trying to say is, when we were drinking, the thought of sobriety was so foreign to us.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have the tools to understand sobriety, right? You just don't have the language and understanding the toolkits to deal with those coping mechanisms. You didn't have the toolkit built out to deal with cues and triggers and the support network and everything like that. Same with codependent behaviors. The drama triangle itself is a form of, let's just call it drunkardness or addiction. Right? If you're so trapped into it, you're absolutely right. It's a choice, but the people in those roles may not see them as choices, right? This is, again, like if you told them that, you don't understand me. I can't choose. This is everybody else dumping on me, right?
I'm stuck here. There's no way out.
So again, meeting them where they're at and knowing, this model helps me understand that some people may be ready to hear and some people may not. Some people are so far down in that triangle, I don't have the tools to help them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's me just setting boundaries and knowing where my part ends. Maybe I can have enough dialogue with a person to see, what their interests may be, or maybe it's somewhere in between. I don't know. What I'm trying to get at is, like, they may not have the tools to make the choice.
Right.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So again, the best we can do is lead and model the way. But I definitely agree with you, Michelle, that learning to invert it, like I was trying to say, the opposite of a victim isn't a rescuer. We have to learn to elevate, to transcend some of these structures. Same with our behavior item. And a lot of, at the core of it, is compassion. Compassion for self is a very good start. Be kind to yourself.
Self-care.
Healthcare, self-validation, right? Self-awareness, raising that awareness. These are all tools to help us transcend a lot of these structures that we kind of devolve into. So.
Being selfish in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, selfish is not a bad word.
Nope.
Not
Okay.
if you're doing it right.
Guys, I got to go eat. I think Nessa's sitting here like, I think she's doing the potty dance. This has been a fantastic conversation. Michelle, thank you so much for joining.
Anytime you want me to join, John, you just let me know, and
Okay.
I will make myself available.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ed, thank you for being the sole participant in the chat. I'm not kidding. It means a lot. Thanks for your perspective. Appreciate you joining. Patrick, really good stuff.
Yes, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I think we need to delve more into this drama triangle at some point.
I do too.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
There's a lot more there, I think.
Yep.
For sure. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the support. We appreciate it. Building a very niche community here, so it's awesome. Remember, we got the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you have suicidal thoughts or ideations, give them a call. Don't harm yourself. Go to a hospital. Go to the emergency room. Talk to someone. And also, if you're sober curious, or if you or a loved one or a family member or a friend is addicted, and you want to find out how to deal with it or figure out their journey or yours, check out Al-Anon. Fantastic organization. Michelle's a huge advocate of those folks. So have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
As always, be kind to
Be
yourself.
kind to yourselves. God damn it. All right, y'all. See you next time.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.